Hello! Welcome back. Today we're here to talk about 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy. I remember when this one came out, I thought that Marvel had lost their minds. I remember seeing trailers for it and thinking it looks so stupid. Like, not even at all what I wanted Marvel to do. But it quickly became one of my favorite Marvel movies, and I think it's because this one, they knew what they wanted to make, and they made it, and it was, like, legitimately funny. Like, it's a really fun, just a good time. Just a good time movie.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the more entertaining Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Starting off with the plot and the story, pretty dang good. I give it a 4.
Yeah.
Just start out.
Just lay that out there. So, for those of you who haven't seen it in a long time or have never seen it at all, the story is pretty simple, actually. It's about a bunch of kind of misfits coming together to protect what turns out to be an Infinity Stone. Well, okay, actually, it starts out with one of them trying to sell it, and then they end up protecting it from the guy that wants to use it to destroy a planet. So that's the basic premise of it, but if you really break it down, what it's actually about is the Guardians of the Galaxy forming a bond and becoming a team. That's really what the story is, and the rest of it just kind of happens in the background. And it's a very simple plot, and I think if they hadn't made it as funny and like just fun with the cinematics and everything, it probably wouldn't have done that well. But it worked for what they were trying to do, and I really enjoy watching the story play out.
Definitely. The thing about it is that it's all very cohesive. Although I will say that there are a couple of times when it feels like they just go somewhere because they need to be there for the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as an example, when they go to nowhere, they're like, well, there is another buyer that nobody knew about until just now that's going to take us over to this random celestial skull. And so they go over there, and then they just kind of like gamble for a while and drink, and it's kind of like, all right, let's make them have a moment here.
Killing time.
Yeah, and then they all go to prison, and it's also that they can get together and break out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it felt like they just kind of threw these things together so that they could be a team at the end of the movie.
Right.
And it wasn't really going towards the whole, Ronan is about to get an Infinity Stone. I think that for the most part, though, the story is fine. I don't have any issues with it. Like I said at the beginning, I gave it a 4.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good story. I can't give it a 5 because part of me is just like, it was like almost a little lazy the way that they just kind of threw it together.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was a little lazy in parts. And the other thing, and this is what really holds it back the most for me, is that the whole idea of the movie is that it's about them becoming a family of sorts. And at no point do you really see when that happens, because most of the movie is spent with them fighting each other, arguing. Mm-hmm. And at one point, like a couple of scenes before they decide to go rescue each other, Rocket even says, after we get the money, there's nothing that's going to stop me from killing every single one of you.
Yeah.
He says that, and then 2 scenes later, they're risking their lives for each other. Mm-hmm. And there's no moment of, like, this is when they become a family, because they instantly are like, oh, they're the only friends we've ever had. We have to go save them. And, like, at what point did you become friends? I missed that.
Well,
and
it also felt like Peter was just saving Gamora because he thought she was hot.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of Superman 2 when he doesn't save France until he finds out Lois is there.
Yeah, that's a good moment too.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. So, like, Quill saves Gamora because he thinks she's attractive. Rocket and Groot and Drax go to save them both for reasons that are never really explained. They say they're the only friends we've ever had, but again, when did that happen? Mm-hmm. So it's not a huge complaint. I'm kind of nitpicking a little bit here. But to me, that is a big enough complaint when your whole movie's about them becoming a family, and that's not really ever clear when that happens or why that happens, that I do dock at a point. Mm-hmm. It's only a point, but it is a point. Yeah. So I also gave it a 4 out of 5. It's good, it's fun, but it's not perfect.
This vermin speaks of affairs he knows nothing about.
That is true.
He has no respect.
That is also true.
Hold on.
Keep calling me vermin, tough guy. You just want to laugh at me like everyone else. Let's see if you can laugh after 5 or 6 good shots to your frickin' face.
No. 4 billion units. Rocket. Come on, man. Hey, suck it up for one more lousy night and you're rich.
Fine.
But I can't promise when all this is over, I'm not gonna kill any last one of you jerks.
See, that's exactly why none of you have any friends. 5 seconds after you meet somebody, you're already trying to kill them.
Acting and characters, this is what really makes this movie stand out. And I think that's because every single actor is fun and likable. They're all a lot of fun, and especially when they're all together.
Mm-hmm.
The chemistry between all of them is so much fun. Chris Pratt is a lot of fun as Star-Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Drax is really funny as David Bautista, or, the opposite way around. David Bautista is funny as Drax.
Yeah.
But the funniest character, actually, to me, the one I've enjoyed watching the most is Rocket and Groot. But mostly Rocket, because Rocket's really funny. But, all of them are just so funny. And Gamora's not funny. She's the straight man, but she's also really good at doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't have any issues. Every single one of them is a lot of fun. Every single one of them is really funny. They're charismatic. They're charming. And like I said, if it weren't for that fact, this movie probably wouldn't be as likable as it is.
100%.
Yeah.
And I was going to say that if I was going to take any points away from characters, it would just be the fact that, again, it kind of felt like they only did things to keep the plot going. But the issue is I already took a point out for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to take out 2 points. That's a very nitpicky thing. The characters were well developed.
Mm-hmm.
The acting was spot on.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I can tell, Marvel has only really missed with one actress. You know who I'm talking about. So I don't really feel like... I just feel like you can kind of get used to MCU acting being good.
Yeah.
And this is to be expected.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, if I was going to take something away, and I didn't because I think the rest of them make up for him, but Ronan is not an interesting villain.
No.
I think that he's actually a little reminiscent to me of Malekith in Thor: The Dark World, but the difference between Malekith and Ronan is Ronan's in a good movie, Malekith isn't. So you forget about Malekith because he's in a bad movie, but you still forget about Ronan, but you don't take it, you don't hate on him all that much because the Guardians of the Galaxy is just a fun movie, so you don't really care that he's forgettable because the rest of them make up for it. And it's not that Ronan was a bad actor. He had no motivation given to him for what he was doing. He wanted to destroy a planet because his race hated that race, and that was the extent of it.
Right.
But I gave it a 5 out of 5 because I really didn't care.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And the other thing about Ronan as a whole is I think that he's one of those characters who is just evil because. Mm-hmm. And sometimes characters are like that, Darkseid, Thanos, Ronan. Although Thanos in the MCU is very...
he's more sympathetic.
Yeah, more of a sympathetic villain. But in this case, the thing is that you can have a character. I'm just glad that he wasn't an evil clone, as Marvel has done almost every other movie to this point. So I appreciate that they at least tried something new. Although I guess you said they did it with Malekith too, but this one worked. So I don't have any gripe with the characters as a whole, although I can definitely see where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I gave it a 5. I think that it's earned.
I agree. 5 out of 5.
You call that figured it out? We're gonna rob the guys who just beat us senseless. Oh, you want to talk about senseless? How about trying to save us by blowing us up?
We were only gonna blow you up if they didn't turn you over.
And how on earth were they gonna turn us over when you only gave them a count of 5?
We didn't have time to work out the minutia of the plan. This is what we get for acting altruistically.
I'm Groot.
They are ungrateful. I don't even believe you have a plan.
I have part of a plan.
What percentage of a plan do you have?
You don't get to ask questions after the nonsense you pulled on Nowhere.
I just saved Quill.
We've already established that you destroying the ship that I'm on is not saving me.
When did we establish?
Like 3 seconds ago!
No, I wasn't listening. I was thinking of something else.
All right. Now we're on action, not
Action.
cinematics. I was about to go right into cinematics. Go ahead.
Okay, action. Here's what I'll say about the action. I think it's fun when you're watching it. I don't think any of it is extremely memorable. When I think of the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, there's not a single action sequence that really stands out to me as this is a good movie.
Right, exactly.
I will say, it's
Prison
fun.
Break is pretty cool.
The Prison Break is fun, and also when they first meet up and they're fighting in the little street brawl, that's kind of fun to watch.
Also, the one where Groot just murders 15 people and then smiles when they're breaking into the ship.
The ship, the
That
final
was a pretty
battle.
good scene.
It's all fun. I'm not going to say it's bad. I just think it's
not very memorable.
It's not very memorable. The last battle is actually, and at least when I was watching it this time, I thought it was kind of reminiscent of Star Wars a little bit, with the ships flying around, blasting each other.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost more like the the third Star Trek movie?
What
What was the one where they were like on the planet and they were shooting ships around? I think it might have been the Wrath of Khan. Here's the thing. It was okay. I don't know. If you're into like ship battles, then you'll probably like it.
Yeah.
The last
space
battle wasn't
battles.
probably for me, because I like when characters have more interaction, I guess.
I agree with that. Gunfights have never been all that interesting to
Yeah.
me.
Although this might be the first and only time that you have included a dance battle into the final battle of an action movie, and I think there's something to be said for that.
It was funny. Yeah, like I said, they're all fun to watch.
It caught me off guard.
It did.
Even the second time I watched it, I was still
Yeah.
caught off guard.
Yeah. But that's kind of Guardians of the Galaxy, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's you don't expect what they do, and then they do it. It
Mhm.
works somehow.
Right,
like,
yeah.
It's weird that he's dance off, bro, but at the same time, like, it worked. It was funny, so
Yeah.
punt landed. But yeah, I mean, I think I gave it a 3.5. I think it's good action. I think it's fun to watch when you're watching it. I don't think about it all that often, but it's good.
Yeah, definitely. Did I already
I don't
give
know,
mine?
what did you give it?
Oh, I gave it a 4.
Cool.
So
Time. Isanka! Yeah!
Child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Listen to these words. Ooh, child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Now bring it down hard. Someday, we put it together.
What are you doing?
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
this is the one I was excited to talk about. The cinematics. So somebody kind of ruined Marvel Cinematics for me because they pointed out that they never changed their camera angle. It's always the same, and it ruined it for me. Because if you think of like really good movies, generally speaking, they will change the camera angle. You'll have shots coming from like below while the people are like walking, or from like a diagonal. Sometimes you'll have close up. Sometimes you'll have far away. Marvel movies are shot very, very safely. They don't try to do anything artistic with it. I mean, with a couple of notable exceptions. But in this case, this was definitely one of those movies where at some point, like while I was watching this, I was like, they should probably try something new here, you know? And you get distracted because the story is good, but when you're nitpicking cinematics, that makes a big difference. The other thing I'm going to say, I usually do not like pop culture soundtracks. And this movie is not an exception. There are exceptions. I think that Shrek did a really good balance. And there's a video that we might link, depending on which one of us uploads this. But there's a video about somebody that talks about pop culture and soundtracks, and he does a really good job of explaining why Shrek can get away with it. And it's because Shrek also has their own theme. Guardians of the Galaxy in this movie did not. They just used pop tracks.
Yeah, I mean, they had a theme. It was reminiscent of the Avengers a little bit.
Maybe, I don't even remember. It wasn't
Yeah.
very good. See, Shrek's is really good. Do 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 do. It's very easy to remember, and they bring it up in lots of different ways. It's very good. But in this one, not so much. In this one, it's very, very much you're listening to Peter Quill's 80s soundtrack. And for the 80s nostalgia, fun. It's fine. But the thing is that the music is supposed to add to the movie, not just be there. And with pop music, generally speaking, it's just there. So that's my two nitpicky things. I took away a point for each of those, so I gave it a 3 out of 5.
And that's interesting because I actually think that in this case, the pop culture did add to the movie. I think that it was geared towards somebody who'd been taken away from Earth at an age when that was the music, that was the pop. And I think that the fact that he was and it was a gift from his mother,
Right.
so the fact that he was so fixated on it and wouldn't let it go kind of adds to his character a little bit. And it adds to the feel of the movie. The movie is goofy, the movie is bright and colorful and very 80s reminiscent.
Yeah.
And so to me, it makes sense that would be what they would do music-wise for that movie. So I had no gripes with that. Actually, and another thing I want to talk about with cinematics I really enjoy about this one is the tone of it really hits.
Yeah.
They want it to be funny, they want it to be goofy, they don't want it to take itself seriously at all, and it doesn't. There is one scene which is weird because it's actually at the very first scene that takes itself seriously. That's when Peter Quill watches his mom die of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very dramatic moment. And then after that, you get Peter Quill dancing on the planet, kicking aliens around, singing at them, and it doesn't take itself seriously ever again.
Right.
And that can be a dangerous move to play with a movie when you just take it that far. But it landed. This one, they actually stuck the landing on how funny it was and how much you enjoy watching it. So to me, the only thing I kind of take off on a cinematic point is that there were a couple of shots and moments when I was like, that is very clearly green screen. That doesn't look good. One of the moments that I particularly caught of that is when Peter Quill is having Gamora listen to his little headphones, and they're standing out on the balcony, and they're having a little real flirty romance moment going. And I remember looking at the background and being like, that looks pretty terrible.
Which is funny because you could have just shot that outside.
Yeah.
And it would have been fine.
Yeah.
Like, you needed a very cheap set for that. So
Yeah.
You're right, though. That was very green screen, so that is a good point.
Yeah. So I took that away a little bit on a cinematic level, but I gave it a 4.5 because ultimately I think cinematically, actually, it really worked. But it's a little dated with the effects, and the green screen looks pretty bad in moments. But ultimately, like a 4.5, I enjoyed the cinematics of it.
Pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. If you're not into yoga, if you have half a brain, if you like making love at midnight in the dunes on the Cape,
Behold,
I'm the love that you've looked for. Write to me and escape.
this one shows spirit. She'll make a keen ally in the battle against Ronan. Companion, what were you retrieving? You're an imbecile.
I think from an entertainment standpoint, this is probably the strongest point of the movie. The movie is not a dull movie.
No.
It's not the kind of thing that you put on while you play with your phone in the background. It's fun. It's captivating. And I think that for MCU movies, it also works really well as a standalone movie.
Yeah.
So you don't need to have seen everything else to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't, if you feel like you're too far behind an MCU and you don't want to get engaged in it, but you still want to see what a typical MCU movie feels like, this is a good example.
Yeah.
It's fun. It has the right to be funny. I know that sometimes MCU gets a bad reputation for just kind of throwing cheap jokes out there, but this one felt like that was every joke felt earned.
Mm-hmm.
And it's goofy, it's fun, and the story is good enough that you can put it on and watch it and enjoy it every time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I really truly think that this is the strongest aspect of this movie.
I agree with that. On an entertainment scale, Guardians of the Galaxy is one that I have gone back and rewatched many times, and it hasn't gotten old. It still puts a smile on my face. It still makes me laugh. Of the Phase 2 movies, this is probably my favorite one that they did. I know a lot of people think Winter Soldier is better, and I understand why you think that. But to me, Guardians of the Galaxy just lands a little bit better. I think that there's something for everybody to enjoy in Guardians of the Galaxy. I gave it a 5 out of 5 on an entertainment scale. I rewatch it several times.
Mm-hmm.
We'll continue to rewatch it, I'm sure. It's just a really fun movie to watch.
Yep. That brings my total to a 4.2 out of 5. Definitely a contender for some of the best movies that we've watched.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And I gave it a 4.4. It's definitely in my top 10 as of this moment, which means our total will be a 4.3. This is probably the highest we've given a movie in a long time.
Yeah,
collectively.
maybe. I mean, obviously, The Dark Knight is our highest ranked
Oh, yeah,
movie.
no, for sure. But
yeah, I mean, this, if you're, again, the thing about movies like this is that they're not meant to be artistic masterpieces.
Mm-hmm.
It's just meant to be a fun movie, and it definitely accomplishes that.
Yeah.
And so I think that giving it a 4.3 is our collective is definitely accurate, and I think it definitely represents how we feel about it, and probably how you will feel about it.
I agree.
If you haven't watched it in a while, give it a watch. If you've never watched it, I don't get it, but yeah, go for it. Go watch it.
Yeah.
I think that you'll enjoy yourself. I will also say, just stop trying to cancel my man on Twitter. He hasn't
Chris
done
Pratt?
anything. Yeah,
Yeah, I
they've
don't
tried to. You
understand.
tried to cancel him like 9 times. The dude, he's fine. All right, just get off his back. All
Yeah.
right, yeah, he does. He does a good job, and he's very, very likable. So
Yeah.
go watch the movie, and don't illegally download movies. It's not a victimless crime.
Yes, good plug there. We should throw in a clip from Batman the movie. Robin goes, "Support the police."
Yeah,
That's our motto.
that's right.
Anyway, tune in next time when we watch 2015, when we review 2015's Avengers: Age of Ultron. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Later, boys and mom.
What should we do next? Something good? Something bad? Bit of both?
We'll follow your lead, Star-Lord.
Bit of both.